So today we'll be talking about crossover athletes. So going from one sport to another and how that transition works based on different people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But first of all, let's give them a little bit of background because you're one of those athletes. That's why you can speak
Yeah.
to it, right? Talk about how you started off. What were your first sports?
So when I was younger, I did a little bit of soccer and I also did some cheerleading in middle school. And then when I went to high school, I tried out for the cheerleading team, but I didn't make it. So I ended up running track. And I had ran track a little bit in middle school as well and was very successful at it, but wasn't that much interested. And then when I got into high school and I made the track team there, it kind of became my life and I kind of just got swallowed into it. That was where my best friends were, and where I was at every weekend, traveling to track meets and things like that. So that was my life for about 5 to 6 years. And then I went to college and picked up rugby, and that's kind of where my transition started from a sport that was kind of you just run in one direction and you have a start goal and an end goal to a new sport where I had to acquire all these skills where it took so long and it's something that I'm still working on to this day.
It's interesting because when you were in track, right, running track, you realized, and everybody else around you realized just how fast you are. So that wasn't enough incentive for you then to know that you could potentially be really very successful as a sprinter
Hmm.
because of your speed. You wanted to do something more with your running, or what was it that made you, diverse and start to look at other things?
I can't exactly pinpoint like, oh, this happened, so it made me not want to do this anymore and go into another sport. Um, I'm kind of a busybody, and in track and field, I kind of just got bored with it. I was running the short sprint, so you're only running for like 12 seconds.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of just got bored with the straight line running. That was kind of my reasoning in college. And like I said, I had a passion for contact sports since I was young, even though I
Mhm.
wasn't playing a specific sport involving contact, but I was very aggressive and rough when I was younger. So I kind of felt like with track and field, I never got to fully release all that built up aggression that I had. And then when I seen rugby and I tried out rugby, it was just release. So I think I found something that I had been missing for so long. Even though I love track, wouldn't I wouldn't be the athlete I am today if it wasn't for track. That was kind of my base sport and it built me up to be very
Mhm.
successful in rugby. So
Yeah, because the one talent that you could take right onto the playing field then with rugby was your speed and
yeah.
your athleticism. You had that base, and I'm sure that stood you in good stead. And then on top of that, you had to learn the skills of being a rugby player. So
Yeah.
now tell me why you've chosen this topic today and why you feel this is important to share your experiences about transitioning between sports, Naya.
I feel like a lot of times athletes will come to a dead end in the sport they're in and they think, okay, if I can't do this anymore, there's no other sports that I can do. And with wanting to grow the sport in rugby, we have to get more athletes to come do it. But the case is that a lot of athletes are already so focused on other sports. But to be able to know that you're done with one sport and that you can cross over and do another sport and even possibly go to the Olympics, like for a new sport, even though you haven't been playing it since you were born, like that's a great opportunity that a lot of athletes don't know about. And I think honestly, majority of the athletes who play for USA Rugby are crossover athletes because not many of the athletes grew up playing the sport. Most of them picked it up in college or in high school. So if you look at the women's USA rugby team, you have crossover soccer athletes, you have crossover hockey athletes, and track and field, and probably a couple like swimming and a couple more. So we need the crossover athletes because you can't go and find now it's probably easier, but before back in the day, you couldn't go and find somebody who was purely playing rugby. growing up. So just getting that information out there that, yeah, you ran track and field and you did it for this many years, or you played soccer and that was your main sport and you wanted to go to the Olympics for that. Maybe that door closed, and rugby or crossing over to any other sport, that door could reopen for you. So I think awareness of that is important.
Yes, clearly, and there's lots of crossover examples we can give.
Yeah,
But we should say that you're speaking mainly to an American audience here, where they know that rugby was not in schools as it is like in Europe, Australia, New Zealand. They
yeah,
actually play it growing up, so they do have that foundation. Maybe that's the only sport they've ever played in some cases.
yeah.
I can think of some rugby players in England, and I'm sure you can, where
Mhm,
that's that's been the pathway for them because there's been that opportunity. But that's not the case here in the US.
mhm.
Rugby is not in schools and colleges like it is in other countries.
Yeah,
So, so what you're bringing as skills from another sport then are invaluable, and and the sport relies on a lot of those crossover athletes. You know,
exactly.
what did you feel that you were bringing apart from your interest and enthusiasm for the game?
Mhm.
And your talent as an athlete and a sprinter, what else did you think you were bringing as an athlete, just as a human being, with that enthusiasm? And what did you think, in addition to that, and with that as a base, then Naya, for crossing over, that you felt were going to be your biggest challenges in terms of opportunity? I'm thinking opportunity now as well.
Can you explain the question in a different?
Well, I think when you come into rugby from another sport in a
Mhm.
country where it's not prominent, and you had to educate yourself on the sport,
Yeah.
but the other part of that, of course, is finding the opportunities. Where do you go? Where do I, if we're giving advice to maybe young girls that are watching now, thinking, okay, well, how do I do this? She made it, and she's got onto Team USA Rugby.
Yeah.
That was easy for her. But for the majority of people, they're not going to get onto the national squad. But what opportunities are there, and what kind of challenges would they face in crossing over?
So I think one of the main opportunities is just trying to find a club team in your community. I think starting there is a good base because it gives you time to learn everything that you need to learn without all the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And playing on those club teams, that's where I feel like a lot of the scouting happens because based on the club team you're on, you can end up
Mm-hmm.
going to club nationals. And then a lot of our athletes are picked up from there and seen and scouted from those type of events to where you'll be able to transition. And then also starting on a club team could build you a base so that maybe you can get looked at for any level of college that may have the team, whether it's club, intramural, or a varsity team. Getting on one of those teams can help you be seen, and also just promoting yourself. So if you have been playing on a club team and you're not getting the looks that you want, or you're not being recognized how you would like, reaching out to um, the coaches and staff or any athletes that you know that play for USA Rugby is very important. I don't think it's that hard to reach them. Luckily, you can find their emails on the usarugby.org page, or you can reach out to any of the athletes on social media, and I would hope that they'd be able to try to find a way to get you in that pathway. A lot of the answers people give to that question of how can I get on the USA team is like, oh, you need to be a great athlete. And that's very true. Like, you're going to have to work your butt off to not only be athletic, but now I can give the information that you're going to have to work on your passing, you need to work on your tackle technique, you need to work on your kickoff receipt and things like that. Not just, oh, you need to be fast or you need to work on your sprints. Like, you need to try to be a whole player so that when you are given that opportunity to come to one of the camps to showcase the type of athlete you are, you need to be well rounded because most of the athletes coming in now are more well-rounded because the sport is increasing and because um, athletes are playing on varsity teams in colleges now. It's getting way more competitive, but that opportunity is still wide open. You just kind of have to find it and work for it and try to reach out to as many people you know who could help you to get into the door. Because after you're in the door, if you can come in there and showcase that you've worked hard and you have the skills and you have the athleticism, I don't think they'd have any issue getting their shot or getting a chance to play for the USA.
Right, show that dedication and determination as well, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, Give us some examples of the players that you've been playing with and the sports they've come from.
So you have Alev Kelter. She played hockey and she
Is that
played
field hockey or ice hockey?
ice hockey.
Okay.
Yeah, and she also played soccer.
Hmm.
And she was like top in those sports. So I think she could have definitely went pro in those sports if she stayed around. She decided to come do rugby and go to the Olympics for that. So I guess she made a good choice. Another crossover athlete, we have Cheta Imba, and she was a goalie for her Harvard soccer team. So she ended up crossing over. So when she was in Harvard, she was playing both sports, and it was the same situation of my high school experience of having to go ask your coach, hey, I know I'm playing this sport and I know this sport is my life, but is it okay if I try this sport? And just being able to manage that because you don't, when you think of rugby, you think injury, the coaches, so you don't want that to become an issue. So she's another one of our crossover athletes. Let's see, we had Naya, who was who is an amazing swimmer. Her mother went to the Olympics for swimming as well, so
Yes,
she crossed over
I
as well.
know her. Yeah, we know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she crossed over as well. Um, and you have a couple other girls who also played soccer. I did track and field and crossed over in high school, not pro or anything like that.
Hmm.
And if you look at the men's side, you see a lot of them crossing over from football and track and field as well. So
They finally realized that American football does not match up to rugby. You know,
yeah,
rugby's the real deal, right?
yeah, I agree. It's the roughest.
Yeah, it certainly is. A tackle in rugby is different to a tackle in American football,
Yeah.
and you don't need all that protection, right? That's
If you're
that's
tackling right, you don't. Yeah.
no, exactly.
So,
So give us some other examples then, Naya, of if what you would bring from other sports. If you know, if we've got anybody watching that's thinking, okay, well, I'm in netball or I'm in basketball or whatever they're playing, what qualities they would bring then to, and what do you think rugby is looking for in those athletes then that are crossing over?
I think obviously athleticism, and if you're
Mm-hmm.
playing any type of sport, you probably have that already in you. Um, I think one of the main things is just bringing an open mind and just being able to be adaptable because you are coming into a new sport where you're going to have to learn skills that you probably have never even heard of or thought of. So just having an open mind and being open to learning how to do new things. I think that was one of the challenges I had was coming in and realizing that you can't just be fast. There's a lot of skills that you have to learn and that it won't come automatically. It's going to take some time to learn. So just coming in with an open mind and patience, which is something a lot of us athletes are still working on. You're learning a new skill. There's going to be some frustration and there's going to be ups and downs in that journey. So just being able to be patient and know that it'll all work out at the end of the day as long as you're putting in the work and staying dedicated and ambitious. I think that's one of the main things that other athletes can bring with them is that ambition that got them into the sport they're in the first place. Just carrying that on into a new sport, knowing that it's going to be a learning process all over again.
Right. Did you have
Yeah.
any surprises when you took up rugby seriously? I mean, you committed yourself to it by now. Were there any surprises?
I think one of the main surprises was just that when I was running track, I thought of it as a team sport, but then when I actually joined the rugby team, I realized it's not really a team sport because in track and field it's more individualized where it's okay, this is your event, you're running it, only you can control your outcome. Whereas in rugby, transitioning to what you do affects somebody else, and what they do affects you, and you need everybody to mesh well in order to have a good outcome. It doesn't only depend on you. So that's kind of where that patience part comes in, and that understanding and that team culture part comes in, because I was missing that for the first 18 years of my life. I never had that team environment and never had to adapt so much to different people and different skills and different personalities. So it's definitely broadened my horizons, and I've gained a lot of knowledge of how to work with other people. And that transitions into real life, which is very nice.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
skills as well.
Yeah.
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 And it's possibly fair to say that you not only have become more confident, but you probably become more sociable or social, I would say, because you obviously we know you're into social media, but more
Yeah.
social in your personal life because you have that inner confidence now as an athlete.
Yes, I have so many friends surrounded by me every day. I have like 20 sisters
Yeah.
in addition to the 3 I have at home. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a family environment now.
Extended family. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you would like to share, Naya, on this topic?
Um, just to say, like, if you are in a sport and you're looking for something else, that it's possible, and that that crossover is difficult, but at the end of the day, I think it's very worth it. You to be able to relearn a whole new sport is an amazing journey, and I think that it could teach you a lot. So if you are at a dead end, try something new, whether that's a new sport, a new job, new friends, whatever you need to do to transition and to learn more in your life. I think that's a great opportunity. And I hope that if anybody has any questions about crossing over, like, feel free to ask me, because I already have a lot of people ask me questions about how they can cross over. And I'd love to help,
Okay.
because I wanted that same opportunity growing up.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fabulous. Of course, people
Yeah.
can post their comments right here or just tag you. And if you want to email us as well privately, we can forward that to Naya. Just to shoot an email to us at info@wispsports.com. That's easy enough. And we'll share that with Naya. And of course, you can follow her on social media. Naya Tapper is everywhere on social media. You can find out what she had for breakfast, where she's going to go training, where she goes on vacation,
Exactly.
all of that. Maybe some training tips. Maybe we can share some little training tips. Are you allowed to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. We
Awesome.
want
All
to
right.
share
Well,
the knowledge.
share the love, share the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can do that, of course, tagging us on social media, and we will share it as well, Naya. So I know you've got to go training, but you will be back here at the same time next week, right?
Yes.
So
We'll
this
be
is
talking about awareness of the sport, just public awareness.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
and raising the profile of women's rugby. And that's right here at same time, same place, face to face on Facebook Live here with me, Chris Stafford, and with Naya Tapper. Don't forget to follow her. She's going to go off
Yes.
training now. How long training do you do today, Naya?
It's kind of like a full-time job. So we're at the training center from 7 a.m. to about 4 p.m. So we have about 2 field sessions and a gym session and about 2 meetings throughout the day.
Okay, so good luck with the training, and we'll
Thank you
see
so
you.
much.
We will
Thanks.
see
Bye.
you. You bet. See
Okay.
you back in same time next week.
Yes. Thank you.